Sad news for some of us, school starts tomorrow, but we'll get through it. That's still tomorrow. That's still, 23-ish hours away. So, back to 1 Samuel chapter 20, though, because we left it at a plan. Jonathan and David had a plan to find out how angry or not angry Saul was with David. So they got their plan set. Do you remember? Can you remember back to last week? Or maybe you went and read it, since I told you where to find out where the rest of, Peter didn't read it, okay, where the rest of the story was. In 1 Samuel chapter 20, we talked about the fact that Jonathan was going to go out, he was going to shoot 3 arrows, and then tell the servant whether he should go further, or whether the arrows were right there were kind of the signal. You know what I just realized, boys and girls, last week I forgot to tell you a part. Part of what David had said to Jonathan when they were planning this, and they knew that David would be absent from the feast, he tells Jonathan, he says, if your dad asks where I am, tell him that I have gone back to my family to have the feast with them, that my brother has requested that I be there. That's the answer that Jonathan should give. And I forgot to tell you that last week, boys and girls. Sorry about that. So, it happens. Sometimes I forget the details. So I get so excited telling you the story, and I want to get to the big parts, and sometimes I forget some of the little details along the way in my excitement to move forward. So we're picking up in verse number 24 for those who would like to follow along, 1 Samuel 20:24. So David hid himself in the field, and when the new moon was come, the king sat down to eat meat. So just as Peter's hiding here, David's hiding out in that field. And the king comes in, he sits down to meat. He's going to sit down for this feast. And the Bible tells us he does notice that David's missing. And he thinks, well, David just must be unclean. Now, not like physically dirty, boys and girls, not like he needs a shower, but the idea that he's not right before God, so therefore he can't come to this feast. So Saul actually doesn't say anything on the first night. He notices, but he doesn't say anything. Well, night number 2 comes, and David's seat is empty again. And Saul's like, where is David? Why isn't David here? And Jonathan explains what they had said for their plan. Jonathan tells me, he says, well, David's brother asked him to come home for the feast and spend it with their family. So he has gone home and he's with his family. And Saul gets angry. He gets so mad. And Jonathan's like, Dad, why are you mad? Why are you so upset with David? And Saul picks up his javelin. Saul picks up his javelin. He gets ready and he throws it at Jonathan. He throws it at his own son. See, I half-stepped aside that time, boys and girls. Getting hit once was enough. Now, it didn't really hurt. It just surprised me. But he throws the javelin at his own son. He's that angry. He's like, don't you know? Don't you know that he's going to be the next king? And you're supposed to be the next king? He is just angry with Jonathan. Well, once that javelin goes flying through the air, Jonathan's out of there just like David was the last 2 times. And he's like, yeah, my dad's not happy. He got the message. He didn't take twice to figure that message out. So Jonathan goes to bed that night, gets up the next morning, and it's day 3. It's the day that they have agreed that they're going to meet, and Jonathan's going to give the message through code to David. So Jonathan takes a servant. He goes out into the field. He shoots 3 arrows as far as he could possibly shoot them, sends the messenger out to get the 3 arrows to bring them back. And he gives the message. The servant gets out there. He gets by the arrows. He's like, further, aren't they beyond you? Aren't they past? And he tells him, hurry up, grab them and come back. So the servant does what he's asked. He grabs the arrows. He brings them back. And then Jonathan actually sends him back to the city. He's like, thank you for your help. That's all we're going to do. You can go back. I'm kind of thinking if you went out there to shoot 3 arrows, if I were the servant, I'd be wondering, what did we come out here for to shoot 3? And then go back. Like, don't you want to do it again? But the servant doesn't question him because he's a servant. The servant just goes back to the city. Well, once the servant is gone, David comes out of hiding. And when David comes out of hiding, David and Jonathan are able to talk again. And again, they renew their promise that they will forever be best friends. Although at this point, the Bible tells us they may never see each other again. They are making this promise knowing this could be it. Boys and girls, I don't know, you probably really never thought of that, but maybe you've had a best friend move away or a close friend, and the thought of they've moved a couple states away and you don't know if you're going to see them again. But Jonathan's in the situation where his dad is trying to kill his best friend. So not good. They decide that they're going to separate, they're going to go away, and Jonathan's going to go back to the palace where his dad is, and they'll remain best friends, but they may never see each other again. And they promise to always protect each other's family. They're going to take care of each other's family as if they were each other. So it doesn't really end on a good note because we know that David has to flee. David has to run away. And we know that Jonathan's going to go back to his dad who's so angry. But boys and girls, we have the whole story. We have the Bible. We know that God has a plan. God has a plan for these friends. Boys and girls, do you know God has a plan for the friends in your life? It's always important that we choose wise friends, that we choose friends who want to do what's right, because God can use our friends will influence us. There are many people who've said, look at the 5 people who are closest to you and you'll know your own character. Our friends do influence us, but God wants to use our friends to influence us for right. Proverbs talks about that all the time, about who we're around and who we're surrounding ourselves with. Boys and girls, I hope you're surrounding yourself with good friends. And what we mean by good is somebody who is encouraging you to do what's right. Somebody who's encouraging you to read the Bible and to go to church. Well, I hope this next week, as you meet new friends at school, if you have new friends in your class, it's always great to be friendly, get to know them, but make sure that you're spending time with the friends who are going to encourage you to do what's right. And I hope each day, boys and girls, before you go to school, that you will pray and you will talk to God. You will spend time asking Him to help you during the day to do what's right.